Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to another exciting daily dose of Planet Cool Stuff. I'm Rob McCallum, and we've got some fun stuff to talk about today. Once again, you can see the topics on the side here. We're going to talk about superhero fatigue, the RoboCop documentary that we sort of touched on yesterday, and a Kickstarter update. I'm going to actually try to bring up the Kickstarter page right now so I can keep it in the corner of my eye. I'm a few minutes late from where I wanted to be because we've had some interesting happenings on Kickstarter. We are officially, you ready for this, folks? We are officially $35 away from hitting our goal. I know it's a big deal, right? Well, it's a big deal to me to actually have a campaign guarantee. A successful campaign is always a big deal, but to get a campaign that gets something that you've worked on for so hard, featuring so many people that you admire, cemented into physical media like a DVD or Blu-ray, it's a big deal. So $35, obviously, I think it's fair to say at some point we will probably hit that goal. But if I can be truthful with you, you know what? I'm going to save it for later. We're going to talk about it later when we get to the Kickstarter topic right here at number 3. When we get to that, that's when I'll tell you the thing that is really exciting to me. All right. So let's start with superhero fatigue. Okay. I'm going to show you something that caught me off guard here. Let me get the screen share going. Have you heard of the show Invincible? Well, this is a comic book turned animated series. It's an Amazon original. It comes from Robert Kirkman, who, of course, you might know from The Walking Dead. Obviously, The Walking Dead was a massive success. There are how many spin-offs now? 2, 3, 9, 15? The zombies just never stop coming. And everybody that had mentioned Invincible to me, including some articles and reviews, because I didn't just jump in, which is weird because I've been saying I just like to jump in. This one in particular, I was so hesitant about. And not because it's animated, but because I don't have any desire right now to see superhero stuff. And that's not because there's anything wrong with superhero stuff. It just doesn't scratch that itch I need anymore. We've been so blessed with so many great films, and we invested so much time and energy into those Marvel films, and we always get excited for the DC films, and sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. So when Invincible rolled around, and I know I'm late to the party like 2 years, I was just like, I'm sure it's cool. It's just not the top of the radar. So let me show you the trailer for that. See what you think.
Come on.
Knock it off, Todd.
I think Amber's been pretty clear about how she feels. I'm nothing like my dad. I want to be just like you.
I fought to keep this planet safe. Your power's got to be due any day now, son.
I've never actually seen the trailer, so this is interesting to me already. What they've taken
Morning.
from the trailer from the series
I'm scared, Dad.
to advertise it.
Do this?
Follow me. Slow down. Land. I said land. Stop. Get up.
I'm actually getting used to this a little.
That's not good.
I will say,
You need to be better.
I'll let it
After
go until
everything he's
after.
done, how can I live up to all that?
You need to decide what kind of hero you want to be.
That was you in the blue and the yellow. Why don't you meet the team after school?
May we count on you in the future?
Yeah, I think so.
And bored of this.
It probably seems super familiar to anybody that watches any kind of superheroes, right?
Son, we need to talk. What I'm about to tell you will change everything.
This is a super long trailer. Oh my goodness. Maybe if they would have led with this half of it instead of the first half, I would have been more interested in it. Oh my goodness. Have you guys seen this?
Ready before. Now I am.
You being a superhero is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Now take me flying or I'm going to tell everyone you're invincible. Sorry, not sorry.
All right, so there you go. You get the idea. That's Invincible. Again, the second half of that trailer was way more intriguing than the first. I'd never seen the trailer. I just jumped into the show because, at the very least, you can spend a couple minutes. But that first episode was actually like 90 minutes, I think, of the series. So it's almost like a backdoor pilot that they went and created. It doesn't on the surface. It does not look like anything different than anything else we've seen, except for, I guess the pitch I would say is, what if the son of Superman grew up, finally got his power, only to discover that who we thought Superman was not actually Superman. Who the world thought Superman wasn't actually the real guy. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it has been out for 2 years, so maybe I'm allowed to spoil it at this point. The big question again, does it cure superhero fatigue? Is it interesting? What is superhero fatigue? Is it just that we've been bombarded with superhero stories? Tales of individuals with extraordinary abilities? Well, isn't that kind of what most films are about? Even documentaries basically build people up to suggest that they have something so intrinsically worthy about them that they are worthy of being on film, that we should watch and learn about them or the event that they're a part of or some aspect of who they are. Or even if it's a documentary about an event, the people that are tethered to that event take on an extraordinary like status. So I don't know that we have superhero fatigue so much as we might be burnt out on the kind of stories that we're getting that happen to involve superheroes. I will say that when it comes to Invincible in particular, I really kind of enjoyed it. I did not think I would love it as much as I did. I thought it was just going to be another kind of superhero show, and in fact, the first 20 minutes of the first episode just feels like a parody of of anything that you've seen from Marvel, anything that you've seen from DC. And it wasn't super inspiring on any level, but I sat with it because, first of all, it was more mature. Second of all, the perspective of being the son of a superhero was interesting without playing that teen heavy card too much, something like Teen Titans. And while there is a level of parody, like I mentioned, it was not all about parody. The value has nothing to do with the fact that, hey, like, here's this world's Justice League, here's this world's Superman. I think that's just a comfortable way to get you into the story. But as soon as that goes away, and it goes away within that first episode, although it's a long episode, you buy into the characters in the world, and you feel for the characters and their struggles and their goals, and you start rooting for different things to happen. It is probably one of the more interesting superhero stories as of late that I've discovered. And I think what makes it unique is it's not afraid to do things that other genres do. I think, I guess maybe the fact that it is so adult is one thing that makes it unique, right? We see that with The Boys to a degree, which is obviously like a superhero show or an anti-superhero show. It's not afraid to go above the PG-13 level that we see with Marvel and DC. Invincible will go to the next level in animation. And to a degree, it's really sad that that's what it takes. Everybody is expecting, this family-friendly thing. So when all you have to do is cater to an adult audience to go above and beyond it. I think there's more to it than that. Oh, Silver Knight Kyle's jumping in. How you doing, my friend? How can I develop superhero fatigue when I spent the first 30 years just dreaming they would be able to make live action Marvel movies? Been collecting comics since the early 70s. So in heaven. I agree. It's a blessing that we finally have the technology to get these stories. At some point, I think it was Iron Man 3, right around that period, is when I stopped getting excited for the superhero stuff. That doesn't mean I didn't want to watch it. It just wasn't an event for me anymore, right? I was still excited and happy to consume live action or animated fare. I love, for example, the DC standalone straight to video films that are based on the graphic novels, and they're all animated. So they're kind of hit and miss. Some are way better than others. Like, there is a huge gap in some cases, but I'll watch as many as I possibly can. because I love superhero stuff. So I'm never really bored with it. But it's no longer an event draw where it's like, oh my goodness, I need to see that at midnight. I need to consume that right away. And part of the problem with the superhero stuff to begin with, for me, much like yourself, Kyle, is the stories. So that kind of erases some of the mystery and the mystique, and you're kind of judging how well will they be able to nail this storyline, or what are they going to do differently, and is it going to be pulled off? So that also kind of dampened my excitement, because I knew they were going to eventually have to do their own thing or tackle it differently. Again, sometimes because of technology, but also because of future plans. The way that the Infinity story was told wasn't quite like the comics. There's a lot of characters missing. Yeah, God, how come Silver Surfer wasn't part of that? Well, because of the rights. And that's like such a crappy deal, but that doesn't make, that whole story and that storyline obsolete or bad. They just had to tackle it differently. Right? It's like the difference between Web as Spider-Man and Peter Parker as Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man, or my recent favorite, Superior Spider-Man. That was a good run. I really enjoyed that. So does Invincible, for everybody else out there, cure superhero fatigue? Oh, hang on 1 second. Silver Knight Kyle's chime in again. Going through another cycle of grittiness like the mid-'80s, the Watchmen and Dark Knight comics. Yeah, Invincible is kind of like that. It's edging towards the more the adult fare, bringing in adult political themes and maturity to comic books that, because they're relegated for kids. Cartoons are for kids, comics are for kids, puppets are for kids, all that stuff, right? All these things that are for this group of people. Well, I think Invincible does a number of things really well. And I'm curious, Kyle, did you ever read Invincible? Is this a new thing for you? Did you watch the show? Did you like how they match up? I'm really curious. The one thing I've heard is that it is so close to the source material. Some of the timeline is a little bit out of order, but other than that, I'm told it's very close. And I wonder if it's worth checking out the comics outside of wanting to support the creators and the artists. Is it worth checking it out if it's so close to the show? Because, right or wrong, I will always take animation or movies or TV over the written form. I don't know why, as an entry point anyways. Probably because the amount of time to invest, it's easier to get into for my brain. That's how I was raised. I was raised in TV and movies and cartoons, so it's just a natural entry point for me. But that doesn't mean I won't go back to the source material. Like Jurassic Park is one of my favorite examples of loving the movie. The first three, I love them. And I like the Jurassic World stuff for the most part too. But then going back and reading that first book and having my mind blown was just awesome. Kyle's chiming in again. Barely paid attention to either. To me, seems kind of like a Watchmen ripoff. It's not like Watchmen at all. Invincible is nothing like Watchmen. It's much more like... Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like following like the son of Superman, but only discovering that Superman has had a secret agenda while he's been on Earth for such a long time. And how does that change everything you've ever known about the planet and superheroes' roles within that? It's a little bit, I guess, like Suicide Squad too, and the way that the government works with superhero teams. I'd be curious at what you thought of episode 1. Take a look at that. Maybe chime back in through comments here, or just next time that we're live streaming. I'd love to hear what you think about that, because it's been enjoyable. I burned through season 1 in less than a week. I think there was 8 or 10 episodes, and they're all like 45 minutes long. And this is basically at night while I'm doing writing, just sitting there, and I found myself watching more than I usually do. I love having something on while I'm researching, writing, being creative. And then season 2 had started, about a month ago. It's like, cool, right into that is good. And I haven't been that excited about a show for a while. Like, I love to get into shows and, burn through them like anybody else. But it was a pleasant surprise. Amazon, I think, is really doing a great job as of late when it comes to content. It was always kind of like second or third on the list, and Netflix was always my first platform to go to. But now it's kind of like anywhere I click, any platform has some really quality stuff on it. And this was something that kept coming up in my feed because I'd been watching The Boys and Gen V. Yeah, it's Gen V. Or is it Gen Z? I think it is. I can't keep them all straight, folks. So it made sense that that would be up there. Let's jump ahead to the next thing that I want to talk about. And we mentioned it yesterday, and this is the RoboCop documentary. And I'm going to do a little screen share on this one too, so you can see the trailer for this one. Shit there. I'm going to do a quick check-in on the Kickstarter campaign. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Oh, we have crossed the threshold. Okay, I'm going to talk about that next, okay? But until then, let's talk RoboCop documentary. You ready? Here we go.
I was reading a lot of comic books for a studio. They came to me one day and said, "Ed, read these comic books." He's sort of a modern, neurotic superhero. Even though he had all these powers, there was like something going on inside. So he was sort of like a superhero with a headache.
Denver, come on. Action.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me. A lot of directors wouldn't even look at it.
In fact, I read 20, 30 pages and thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
We spent at least $1 million on this suit.
The suit doesn't work.
Peter Weller couldn't walk in it.
Murphy, it's you.
She's a really heroic, strong woman. I identified with her because I'm very, very independent.
We had a lot of laughs. We joked around a lot.
We were like little kids playing in a sandbox. We would steal the golf carts from the ADs, because they had to drive around this thing. Paul didn't particularly enjoy that part.
Paul's nuts. You go like this and you shoot. That is inspiring, man.
I don't think anybody would tell you they had a good time on that picture.
I think that RoboCop is the best movie I made.
There's nothing like RoboCop. I mean, there isn't.
The thing that has sustained it, I think, through the years is the fact that there is a heart and soul to it.
In the time since that film has come out, it's grown a massive following.
I am proud to have been part of it. And it is unique, and that's why it lives.
I'll buy that for $1.
Okay, so there you go. There's the trailer for RoboDoc, the story of RoboCop. Silver Knight Kyle. Geez, she looks prettier now. Well, you should. There's a whole story behind that. If you don't know about Nancy Allen, she looked like that prior to RoboCop, and they cut her hair down and basically wanted to make her look as masculine as possible to fit into the man's world that she had to survive in. So that's why she looks so different in the film compared to what she looks like now in previous. I mean, look up Nancy Allen, you'll see it. So let's talk about RoboCop, and let's talk about this film. I'll give you a few tidbits, okay? So Terminator and Blade Runner played a huge role in RoboCop coming to the screen. The scene that clinched the film for Verhoeven wanting to be the director was the flashback when RoboCop comes back to his house that's for sale now, and he sees all the memories, and he has that kind of alienated experience. They had some really interesting casting choices for Alex Murphy, RoboCop. They looked at like Steven Seagal. They looked at Mark Hamill. Peter Fonda was interested. David Carradine. Even Ed O'Neill, Al Bundy was on a casting sheet at one point too. Can you believe that? I was surprised to learn that it was shot in Dallas and Pittsburgh. The steel mill stuff, kind of like the third act. And some of the earlier stuff, I believe, in Act 1 were Murphy and the character Lewis that Nancy Allen plays. They go to stop Clarence Boddiger's gang. That's in Pittsburgh. So was the documentary good? Well, I'll have to tell you this. Watching it, I immediately got back into the whole RoboCop thing, and I had to remedy the fact that I had a lack of RoboCop toys in my collection. I haven't had a RoboCop figure since the early toys first came out, and I don't know what happened to my original one. So now I have maybe an Ed 209, a 10-inch Ed 209, and a RoboCop coming. Thank you, Black Friday sales, timing it for this film. Silver Knight Kyle's chiming in. Classic 80s schlock. Effects were great then, awful now. Fantastic concept. It holds up better than you think. And a lot of it holds up, I think, because of the kind of story that it is, the way it is over the top, so that it can be artificial and have that kind of artifice. So I don't think you should be that hard on it. It's kind of good in that respect. Interestingly, it's a 4-hour documentary. Okay, like I said yesterday, it's a series where that has 4 1 hour and a bit episodes, and they're not really divided into anything categorically. The first one's a little bit more about the development and how it started and how everybody got on board, and then the last 3 are kind of just about production stuff. I'll talk about that in a second, but watching it, this is always a good measure if a documentary is effective. When I was watching, I really, not only did I buy some toys, of course, like I just said, I really wanted to watch the film again. I was like, yeah, oh God, I can't wait to watch RoboCop after watching this. And then somewhere through the 2.5 hour mark, I'm like, I don't need to watch the film again after watching so much about the making of the film. And then I watched it a little bit more. It's like, yeah, I kind of want to watch the film again. So there is so much content. I can't. The best way to describe what this documentary miniseries was like is it addresses every single thing you can think of in the film. Every moment, every line, every setup, every action sequence, every exchange. You see a ton of deleted scenes, a ton of deleted concepts. The pre-production stuff is always, really interesting to me because it was like the experimental phase. What was it going to be? What could it be? How was it going to work? Who were some other potential people involved? So that stuff is always interesting. The production stuff is always, it's a little bit more deleted scenes, like what didn't make the cut? Why was it cut? How did that work? What was the relationship and rapport between the actors and some of the actors with the other actors, the crew and the cast? How did that work? And even the whole film production to like the locations that they were filming in. So interesting production stuff. I definitely think you've got to be a diehard RoboCop fan or a filmmaker or a huge fan of 80s cinema to get through all 4 hours. Okay. I found after the first hour and a bit, it's like, okay, yeah, they answered a lot of questions and they went really deep in some spots and light in others, but that was good. By the end of the second episode, I'm like, okay, this is good. This is done. I'm okay. I don't need any more. But then I kept watching. And that's when I felt like, okay, they're really going to address everything. And there's a lot to address with a film like RoboCop, from the effects to the sound design, the sound effects. They won an Academy Award for sound effects, which I didn't know for some reason, but it's really great sound effect editing. To all the commercials and the news broadcasts and how those function, to the approach to characters and why they act a certain way, the way Peter Weller moves and doesn't move. And there is a lot of stuff. So if you like RoboCop, if you loved RoboCop, you will love this documentary. And it's affordable. Like I said, I think it's $17 Canadian, $13 American. I do not think it's streaming anywhere, but it was fun. It's just, it is a new... it's a Bible of RoboCop, man. It's the Encyclopedia Roboconica, like Robocopica. Like there is so much information. Let's see what else I wrote down here. They talk about like the lines, like I'd buy that for $1, where that came from. When they filmed that stuff, one of the first things they filmed was like the TJ Laser thing, where Alex Murphy, the Peter Weller character, flips his gun and puts it in his holster. And like they talk about how they filmed that and how that, was, a shot at TJ Hooker and other like 70s cop shows. So it's all of this stuff. And you get to hear a little bit about Paul Verhoeven's background coming into this. And this was like his first American picture, more or less. It just, I don't know what to tell you, but it is a lot of fun to hear these people being so candid and not being censored and not being squished into a 90-minute runtime. If you love something, you want to have as much as you can absolutely take. So it's kind of like my RoboCop challenge to you. If you love RoboCop, I want to see if you can get through all 4+ hours of it. How much can you just eat up without having to tap out, without having to take a break? It was like 1:30 in the morning, and I had to tap out because I had to get up and get ready for the stream and look pretty for you guys. I had to make sure everything was good. Kyle's chiming in again. Oh, he peeled off Jay's live feed to spend some time with you. Oh, are we fighting each other again on the YouTubes? Oh, I try not to run at the same time as him, but he runs like 24/7 nowadays. He's like almost Robo Jay. He's gonna have one of those chairs like RoboCop, where he's just plugged in. They feed him baby food in order to keep streaming. Most of the people that watch my stuff watch it after the fact in the evening, I found. So I appreciate you spending some time with me. I feel like I'm not speaking to the ether the entire time. So there we go. So yeah, yes, I'm so pretty. Thank you so much for that. That's the RoboCop documentary. It is worth it. It is a great analysis from the people that made the film. It was insightful. It went further beyond my expectations, completely justified the cost. Again, I fell asleep before the end of it because of the time I was watching it, but I'm going to go back and finish it because I've gotten so far into that marathon that I have to see what else was left on the cutting room floor that wasn't included and how it's all going to put together. The last thing I want to talk about is Planet Cool Stuff. As I mentioned, we have just during this live stream crossed the threshold. We have crossed the threshold into being a completely funded campaign. We're $59 over our goal, which is really exciting. So thank you everybody out there that made that possible. I am so excited. It is streaming in Canada. I'm going to say that a million times because I am excited. It is streaming now exclusively in Canada, but not anywhere else in the world. This is your chance to get a DVD, a Blu-ray, and you will get a digital copy of the series as soon as the campaign wraps. But I did want to show teasers for episodes 1, 2, and 3 to you right now, so you have an idea of some of the topics that we cover. Now, these are very fast, 15-second teasers, so I apologize at their brevity, but you'll see why they work to the degree that they do. So add this to the stage here, and here we go. It's the Battle of the Mario games, collecting comics, and a Transformers toy collection, the likes of which you have never seen. All this and more on the next episode of Planet Cool Stuff, exclusively on Jinx Esports TV Canada. So there you go. So that's episode 2. Now I'm going to add that's episode 1. Here's episode 2. And make sure that's in our little area there. And here, it's a super-powered superhero toy collection. Video game author Brett Weiss, some rock and roll war stories, and the evolution of McDonald's. All this and more on the next episode of Planet Cool Stuff, exclusively on Jinx Esports TV Canada. So that's episode 2. And lastly, I'm going to share episode 3's little teaser with you. So let me get that going here. It's Batman and Batmania, a truly unique but awesome toy collection. The origins of Sectars and Boglins, and the evolution of video games. All this and more on the next episode of Planet Cool Stuff, exclusively on Jinx Esports TV Canada. So there we go. First 3 episodes, that's what's aired so far. Those topics, every week a new episode gets released, and it's really cool. The people that have watched it have reached out, and we're building a community because a lot of the people I don't know yet. A lot of people have either known us just from the toy stuff, and now we're getting to attract a whole new group of people that are liking us for the movie stuff. And it's really lovely to bring everybody together and talk about the stuff that we love and spend time connecting with the creators that are out there and just doing stuff together, right? That's what makes all this worthwhile. When you can do this stuff together, support one another and get it out there. And you guys still, have been with us, been with me since the beginning with Nintendo Quest, and continue to value the work that I get to do. I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for you guys. So I truly appreciate that. Kyle's chiming in here. Goes, DC is still trying to recapture the Batmania of 66 and 89. You are not wrong, my friend. And it may be a point that I make within that segment, because I actually do some segments as well. Because, I got to get on the poster and justify my poster placement. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate that. Again, I'm just going to throw this up here just so you can see how awesome this is. I am so over the moon about this. We have crossed that threshold right there. Look at that. This is the Canadian equivalent. So there you can see the American funds right there. $59 over. Super excited. Thank you so much for everybody that's made this happen. And the thing I was going to tell you about that has really excited me for this Kickstarter campaign is there's an add-on for a really bad sketch. And I went and looked today because I wasn't sure if anybody had actually selected it. And I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 people that have selected a really bad sketch and as an add-on. They want me to do a really bad, and not because I'm trying to do it poorly, but because that's how my artwork will come out. So now I'm officially a paid artist, a paid illustrator, and people are going to get a really bad sketch. We talked about being with me from the beginning. I guess I could do a bit of a spotlight. I have these here. My daughter said, you should do these on your live stream, Dad. So I've showed a picture of this before, but I'm going to show you again. So this is the Triple T tank, as you may know from G.I. Joe. But this is my Triple T tank from my childhood. Now, this is not what it looks like when you buy it, but this is what I did to it because, I don't know, I thought the white was just kind of boring. So I wanted to paint it. I wanted to just give it its own deco. Now, never been a great painter by any means, but I really like the camo appeal to it. I like it more now than I think I did as a kid because I think I was pretty disappointed as a kid when it didn't turn out the way I wanted. I never even thought about using like acetone to take the paint off, but this is a cool relic from my childhood. It's one of a kind, right? You'll never find this again. You can never make this again. And that's why this will always be in my collection. The other thing she wanted me to showcase was my Figment cup from Epcot Center. This was mine as a kid. Figment is the mascot, the unofficial mascot of Epcot Center at Disney World. And the Figment experience has had a bit of a reworking over the years, but I've had this since I was a kid, and I used to have my tea in it or hot chocolate in it as a kid. And it's one of the few things I still have as from my childhood. So now it sits in my office proudly, and it's my favorite version of Figment too. So there's some treasures to share with you from my childhood. I'm sure you guys have a favorite cup or a favorite toy that you had that you've just kept with you for all your own reasons. So thank you so much. We will not be back Saturday and Sunday, but I will be back on Monday talking more. Oh, here we go. Kyle's chiming in one last time. Still trying to reach my goal of landing a Jane Robb signed Nintendo Quest sleeve to frame and hang in my library. That's a pretty rare collectible, my friend. I don't know. You're going to have to talk to somebody who knows somebody to get that to happen. How could that possibly happen? We just might have to figure that out. Thanks for your participation today. Sorry for peeling you off Jay's stream. I appreciate that, though. I'm going to hose him over it. Take care, guys. Thanks so much. Cheers.